We go live. We go live. Yay! We're live on Instagram. Hello, Instagram. It's so good to be with you. Thank you for joining us. And now we are live on Facebook. Hello, Facebook and Facebook friends. So good to see you guys. Today we have a special guest, and I know it's we usually do the program once a week, but today I just couldn't wait for another week, and that's why we have my amazing special guest who you see on the screen if you're on Facebook. Hello, Instagram. Hello, so good to see you. Anya is here, and some other people are joining us very soon. Thank you. Good to see you guys. We're going to be talking about the importance of becoming a better communicator, becoming a better speaker, and ways on how you can actually make it happen in your life. And there are different pathways, but we're going to find a specific one which Faye, my special guest, went through and still going through, and it's going to be an amazing conversation for any one of you. For you, if you are interested in improving the quality of your life, improving the quality of your relationships, whether that's for personal or business or professional reasons. So without further ado, let's officially start. And thank you for joining us, Instagram. Thank you. All right, well, let's officially start the show. Welcome to Dream Big with Zhanna, inspiring you to reignite, refire, and refuel your life. And this is the show for you if you want to get re-inspired to whatever really speaks to you in this life. And there are so many different aspects of it that can be improved on a daily basis. So like I said, today, my special guest on the show is Faye Yang. I'm going to say it Faye Yang, but in Chinese it would be Faye Yang, if we want to be correct, right?
Correct.
Faye? So you guys, let me give you a few lines from Faye's official bio so that you kind of understand who she is and what she's all about. In this, so Faye joined Toastmasters or Toastmasters International on a whim in 2003 and has continued to challenge herself with public speaking and leadership opportunities. She has served in multiple district leadership roles, including division director, public relations manager, club coach chair, club open house chair, and trainer for club officer training sessions. Faye is a charter member and officer for the Silicon Valley Storytellers Club, in which her 5-year-old son Max has been a familiar face since he was 4 months old. And I did not know that, Faye. Faye and I, we know each other through Storytellers Toastmasters Club, which I really love and strongly recommend to anyone, but it's just my personal opinion. We're going to listen to Faye. And I know Max, your son, since the time I joined, and that was a little bit over a year ago or so, right?
Or maybe a couple years by now.
Maybe a couple of
Close to a
years
couple
by now.
years.
And he's just a sweetheart. I think it's just a great way for him to see his mom progressing as a public speaker and developing the patience and developing this awareness that when adults are in the room, grown-ups are in the room speaking, he can observe what we are doing. And what a great start. So anyway, welcome to the show, Faye, and thank you so much for making the time to be here.
Thank you.
All right. Yeah. Well, we are going to start with a question that I ask everybody, all guests on my show. What is your big dream? And what I mean is, it could be your personal dream, a professional dream, it could be a combination, and it doesn't have to be only one dream. It could be multiple. So what are you dreaming about?
Sure. I'd have to say my dreams change in different phases of my life. And professionally, I spent about 20 years in the semiconductor industry as an engineer and realized that it wasn't really my path. But I had this opportunity through friends to help them with their wedding. And this started about 14 years ago to help them with their wedding, to help coordinate. And it's just gone from friend to friend to friend to friend, and now word of mouth. And while it is a time consuming type of role, it is something that I actually love to do. I'm very passionate about. And it's not something that I've been doing as a money making career opportunity, but I still find opportunities to do that. And really, my big dream would be to continue doing that, even in a bigger capacity. So that is my dream way up there. But I'd have to say that I would turn the word around and say, what are my hopes? And so at this stage in life, having a 5-year-old, my hopes would be, I always had a fear before Max came along, what
Mhm.
kind of parent I would be and how Max would turn out. And my big hope is that he would turn out to be someone that we would instill him with the right values and morals, and he would be successful at what he does. He would enjoy what he does and be happy in life, and have the people around him in order to do so. And so that's my dream.
So beautiful and so timely, because you're a perfect like living proof of being a very very dedicated mom, and I think it speaks to all of us moms out there, because knowing you and having seen you in meetings and Toastmasters meetings in the club, and seeing how you just watching and observing how Max is very well behaved in a way that he still gets what is going on, right? Although he's so young, and yet he gives you the space to do what you need to do at the time when you need to do it. It's amazing. So what would you say, since we are on the topic and we're going to be talking about a variety of things today, and we're going to transition to how to become a better communicator very soon, but I think it's important to stop right here and ask, what are your personal values and what are the values that you think Max are going to kind of continue carrying, or maybe even develop even more than you? What are your personal values? Like what really matters to you? Maybe the top three. I know there's a lot, but the top three that come to mind.
There's a lot, yeah. I'd have to say, uh, when he grows up, to really find something that he is passionate about, to continue doing it. But in order to find that, you really have to work hard to develop that skill to then become passionate about. Outside of work or wedding planning, my husband and I are really passionate about music, and that's how we met. We played, and I still do play when we do things in person. We still play in pit orchestras for local community theaters. And ever since Max was a baby, we were playing musicals on soundtracks over the speakers. And so he's very familiar with them. And so if he sees that we're very passionate about something that we love and we continue to do, hopefully he carries that on, and that he will try to find that for himself. But the important thing that we want to instill in him is that you do have to put some effort in it, to work hard in order to find that something that you're really good at and you want to continue doing.
Yeah, and you give him a plenty of opportunities to open like different doors. I usually give a metaphor of us as parents. I see it as our job as a parent is to open as many doors of possibilities as possible, and whether they're going to walk through them, stare, close, it's up to them. And yes, once you identify, like, if even if you are like slightly interested in something, then you kind of you support, and that's what I love about you. You support that in this initial spark, and give him plenty of room and plenty of time and encouragement. And yes, it does need work, because talent is something that we are all born with, but what do you do with that is a different thing, whether you
Right.
develop it or not. But I love your passion about wedding planners. I didn't know it was specifically wedding planners. I thought it was just planners for, is it specifically wedding planning?
It is specifically wedding planning. I did help another friend a couple years ago plan a professional event, a professional panel event for for a financial organization. But
Mhm.
for me, the focus is wedding planning
I see.
that I
I
enjoy
see.
the most. And
Yeah.
I think the reason is because it takes all the components that I really enjoy, whether it's music, baking, for a cake, to crafts, as in making cards, etc. So there are so many components to that I love, and I also actually really love the logistics behind it and helping people work out the fine details and logistics of making something successful.
So now I want to say that would be perfect for people to know. So in Storytellers Club, in Toastmasters Club, you are the VP of Education right now, like during this year, because the roles are changing every year, and I didn't know it myself before I joined the club. So what I was gonna say is that it's amazing how you combine all those skills. Like, you're very organized, like super organized. You are always on top of emailing people, but not just emailing them, with details, like specific details and action steps that they need to, or something that needs to happen. And then you're also very creative. So like, if we had a couple last meeting who are expecting a baby, and Faye went and got the balloons and wrapped the presents beautifully. You're also a great baker. So what I'm driving at is, usually people are sitting down and thinking, like, racking their brain, like what path to choose. Oh, I'm not going to be a good speaker. Oh, I'm not good at that. I'm not going to. They don't have to choose looking at you. You can literally combine all those pieces of what makes Faye Yang so great, and then pursue that. And a wedding, I didn't even, you just gave me a food for thought, that yes, it does have all this beautiful component, including music, and music speaks to me too, as you know. Yeah, card making. So how does public speaking relate to everything that you are doing? Like, what piece of the puzzle does it fit in?
It has a lot to do with everything, whether it was my engineering career to what I am passionate about as far as event or wedding planning. I'll tell you how I started my career. Early on, probably a year into being an engineer, fresh out of not grad school, but bachelor degree, I was asked, or I volunteered to go back to my alma mater, Cal, to be part of their little info session. So each company can go make an appointment and have a meeting to talk about their company and to promote their company in order to get college students to be interested in working there.
Mhm.
And so I remember I went there with another person. I didn't know the person, but we were there to speak about Xilinx. And the moment I opened my mouth, I had the jitters. These were probably kids who were only a couple, 1 to 2 years younger than me, right? There were maybe about 50 of them in the room, and I just could not utter a word. And whatever came out of my mouth, it was just stumbling. So it was really, really embarrassing, but I kind of put that in the back of my mind. I didn't really think about it. I was so embarrassed. I never did that again. But fast forward to a few years later, I think it was really the improvement in my communication skills and presenting in meetings that helped to elevate and to get myself promoted into, say, management. So that was, I think, a great way to be recognized is by improving your communication skills.
Mhm.
Toastmasters also helps you as a leader, taking on all of the various types of leadership roles. So that also helps too. But I think for me, the biggest impact was being able to communicate and to communicate to a variety of people at different levels.
Mhm.
Now, fast forward to today, where I enjoy being a wedding planner, I have to interface with a variety of people as well, from the bride and groom to the vendors, and it needs to be done in a very calm, specific way, one that has to be done. You have to choose your words very carefully too. Not that we don't have to in other situations, but
Mhm.
weddings can be also very stressful. Work projects can be very stressful, but weddings can also be very stressful. And a lot of things can happen unexpectedly. And you have to be able to handle that calmly and to communicate what needs to be done, when, where, how, why, for things to be resolved quickly. So I think being a Toastmaster and working on my communication skills has really helped me to be a little bit more thorough, concise in what I'm communicating to others, because time is of essence, especially when you're working on a wedding,
Yes, yes, I
especially
understand.
on the day of, not just planning,
Okay.
but on the day of.
Oh, so you show up on the day off too. I thought you
Yes,
do all the work behind the scenes before the day, before the wedding, but you are actually one of my favorite movies is called The Wedding Planner. I don't know if you're
with
familiar with that.
Jennifer
Um,
Lopez.
yeah, romantic comedy. I love it. I love it. It's just a simple, tiny. Is that similar to what you do? You
I, I,
do?
I don't have the arsenal of emergency stuff in my overcoat, but I have a bag with emergency items. But yes, basically from the start of the day through the very end of the day at cleanup, I help to make sure they stay on track with their schedule, the schedule that I help them develop, a minute by minute schedule. And then we have to assess if something runs late, then do we have to change things up? And so I'm there to work out those details in case something happens.
Nice, nice. So, how did you find out about Toastmasters? Because there are so many different paths to become a better communicator. You can take a class, you can find a coach. Toastmasters. So what's the story?
Well, my company had a Toastmasters club, and it just so happened when I joined the company, I knew nothing about it. I didn't hear anything about it. Fast forward probably 6 years, my coworker who sat on the next in the next cube from me, he just came by and say, "Hey, Faye, I'm in Toastmasters, and we have a special meeting, an open house coming up. There's a membership contest, and if I bring in the most number of members, then I will win 2 AMC tickets, AMC movie theater tickets. And if I win, I'll share it with you." I was like, "Sure."
I
So
see.
that's how he got me to show up for the very first meeting. And
Nice. Wow.
after that, I did join, and I've been with it ever since.
What really, so how many years have you been, like approximately, have you been a member in various clubs? So in
Total,
Toastmasters organization.
total, I've been in 2 clubs, a corporate club and now the Silicon Valley Storytellers. So I've been in Toastmasters for 17 years.
17 years, yes. So what really speaks to you in this community? What is so not even interesting, so special about Toastmasters community?
Well, eventually, and this is something that an international level officer who came to do a special workshop for our district had also mentioned, is one thing that really keeps people in Toastmasters are the people, the community themselves. We first start to join Toastmasters to make an improvement on our communication or leadership skills. But then eventually you really develop into a family with these other people in your club. And it is the community, the friendship that you build, which really keeps people in the club. And I love the people that I get to share this 1 hour every week or 1 hour every 2 weeks with, the stories that we hear and just working with them. It's really awesome because this is a different type of community or type of group of people than, say, the people at that I might work with outside of Toastmasters. So I really get to know other types of people with different backgrounds and learn their stories.
How is it different this year, since we are living through this interesting times and everything is online? Is it how do you personally find it? Is it better? Is it something that, oh, I can't wait to go back in person? What are the pros and cons as you see them in our meetings?
Sure. The first thing that comes to my mind as far as a pro, when we were meeting in person, and this was last year when Max was still in preschool, I would rush to pick him up at preschool at 6 o'clock, rush home to drop him off. And then he would want me to stay, but I was like, I have to go. And then I have to rush out of the house to go to the meeting, which we want to try and target to arrive around 6:45. So it was always a rush to go from one place to next to eventually get to the Toastmasters meeting. So being online, it's a little bit more relaxed that I can just log in. I may have had dinner already, log in, and it's a little bit more relaxed, a little bit more calming. But I do
And
miss
traffic, right? No
no
traffic.
traffic, right? No traffic. And I don't have to speed and try to rush past a yellow light in order to try and save some time. But the con is that we don't get to really experience the in-person feeling and being there with each other. It's there's it's nice to be able to see everybody all at once on our screens, but it's a different thing to be able to really talk one-on-one with somebody. In the
Yeah.
meeting, it's really only one conversation going on and you're limited to that. But when we're in person, we get to talk and speak a little bit more intimately with other people. And that's kind of the thing that I think is a bit that I miss out of our experience with Toastmasters.
But I also want to mention one thing that I found interesting. Since we are online right now, anybody, like it's no longer local, right?
Right,
Yeah, could you speak to that? Like
right.
who can really join a Toastmasters club anywhere in the world for that reason,
Sure.
or Silicon Valley?
Yeah, so it was really cool. Last year we had a new Toastmaster, Rolly, who was here visiting her daughter from India. And her stay was only temporary. She went back in the January or early 2020 timeframe, but she decided to just pop her head into one of our online meetings when we started in mid-March. And lo and behold, she connected really well. She had a good connection. She enjoyed the meeting. It reminded her of what she was missing in person in San Jose. And she decided to continue joining us every week or every meeting. And so that's really been awesome that she can do that now that we're meeting online. And you hear that a lot about a lot of other clubs too, that they are attracting people from out of state, out of the country, whether they're just visitors. We've had visitors who have been from Massachusetts, Boston, I believe. We've had other visitors who live just out of the local area, that they wouldn't be able to drive to our meetings in time, but they can now all join us because we're virtual.
Yeah, yes. So again, pros and cons, but right now it's like one big family, and the family is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And people also realize that it's a really small world, right? Online,
Yeah.
it's a really small world. Interesting. In just observations. So speaking about ways how we can become, like specific ways how we can become better communicators, there are so many directions that we can go from here. We can talk about delivery of your message. We can talk about how to craft a story. So many different gestures that you use, body language, right? Pauses that you, which falls in the category of delivery. What would you say to people who have never, who are just starting out, and they're not really sure what to start with? What would you say to them? Maybe specific steps, it could be 1 2 3, or how many steps you have, something that can help them to really getting, to start getting the results, or to get their fear off the ground, or to get their story off the ground, which are totally two different seemingly unrelated questions. But I think the fear is the first one that really people go through. And statistically, if you remember, they say that fear is number two after the fear of death for people. It's like public speaking is
Public
the second.
speaking, right.
Yeah, shows up as the second one. And I used to, I don't know about you, were you a shy person at
Oh,
the,
yes.
yeah,
I still
me
don't like to
too.
talk to people.
Well, can you tell? No, you if you didn't tell us, we wouldn't even know. I was super shy. I was like hiding behind, but it has a lot with your insecurities. Of course, I'm talking about myself, but I think it's true for most of us. And then I started coaching people on how to overcome your fears and your personal limitations. And of course, as you're coaching, if you're teaching, you got to do that yourself. And that's what I kind of slowly but surely, you start expanding your comfort zone, and becomes bigger and bigger and bigger. So going back to the question, what would you recommend to people who are just starting, or they're like not sure? And sometimes, if you noticed, we have people is sitting in the meeting, so they make the first step, like they join the meeting, the Toastmasters meeting, right? And they can simply observe at the beginning, but they are still climbing up and they're not ready to speak. So what would you say to them?
Well, I think the first step I would suggest is to really reflect on yourself and reflect, what is it that you want out of an experience, out of life, to show, to help you think of, what do you need to do in order to get to that next step, to elevate yourself. um, I think people can sit and observe and not really make that step. But if they take a step back and really think about it, well, they might think, I think, I do want to maybe take this opportunity. I would love to have this opportunity, but what would it take to be able to get that opportunity? It might be to improve some aspect of their communication.
Mm-hmm.
Then perhaps the first step is to reflect on yourself. Second step is to acknowledge that you want to try to do something to improve yourself. And I think that's the greatest thing that we have an opportunity to do, is to improve ourselves. There's never an ending to learning, right?
Yeah.
Whatever you do, there's always continuous learning. And I want to transition to another anecdote later about continuous learning, especially in the online forum.
Mm-hmm.
But taking that step to say, yes, this is what I want to do, and then finding something that will help you to learn, or to expand your horizons, to improve on a particular skill, or to even acquire a skill. in order to get you closer to that opportunity. And I think that's what Toastmasters is great for, is that it's a really friendly environment. We don't
Yeah.
push people, but we do encourage people. We will provide mentorship to help you and to kind of nurture you to that next step in a very friendly manner. Of course, for all of us, these skills are being learned in Toastmasters. We might not come into Toastmasters or join Toastmasters as people who are experts at giving feedback, but that's what we learn in Toastmasters. How do we give that motivating, encouraging feedback so that the people we're speaking to will continue to be inspired to improve on themselves and to continue to grow? So again, that's another skill that we're learning in Toastmasters, but really reflecting on yourself, figuring out what you're looking for, what opportunities do you want to pursue, and then how are you going to get there? And one great thing, or one great venue is through Toastmasters.
That's I totally agree with you. And self-reflection part reminds me of the club, the storytellers. Like, why storytellers club specifically? There are so many, and it's considered to be a specialty club, right? There are so many
Right.
groups, and it's all volunteer-based organization, which is international, and a lot of people don't know about it. But Toastmasters clubs, if you Google them, they exist in every city almost, right? I love the storytellers club specifically. That's just me. And since we are in the same club, I just wanted to ask your opinion. Like, why storytellers? I will share mine, but I want to listen to you first. Why storytellers, and why is that important? And I mentioned self-reflection because stories that we tell ourselves inside our head, we're not good enough, we are not good communicators in the first place, we cannot do this, we cannot do that. These are all stories. So to me, the story that we are rewriting, like first and foremost, is our own personal story. But that's why I personally joined Storytellers Club. And what is like why are you so passionate? Because you're a charter member of that club too. So why specifically stories?
For me personally, storytelling is probably my most weakest form of communication. When I need to tell an impromptu story in a conversation, the facts don't come out in the right order, or I start a story and then I have to backtrack. And so this is a skill that I am trying to improve on. And even though I'm a charter member, we've been around for 7 years, it's by far, not a skill that I have mastered, but something that I'm trying to still improve on. And the reason why storytelling is important to others, or for the person speaking, is not only for me to improve my own skill, but to improve my impact on others. Because stories can be so much more memorable to others, especially if they're told really effectively and they have a lot of imagery that transports the listener to be there with you in the story, and they'll be able to recognize the moment with you and have that aha moment that you might have had in your own story.
Yes, absolutely. So much to say about stories. It is not an easy skill, but it's a skill. The best thing about it is that it's a skill that can be learned, can be mastered, and we are working on it at it every single time. If you look at the whole world right now, marketing, What do marketers do right now? They tell stories, right?
Yeah.
And in the meetings, you hear stories. I'm a musician apart from everything else, right? Music is an integral part, just like of my life as well as yours. I tell stories. What do I do as a songwriter? I tell stories, but I sing them, right? It's a different type of telling a story. So the more effective you become, the more techniques behind, and you have to literally, it's the art and science. The science is the techniques that can be learned, and the art is, that's when your creativity really comes alive. And when you combine the two, it's amazing. Also, another aspect that you did you want to say something?
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, you mentioned feedback given, right? How do we give effective feedback? It's also another skill to be learned. It is not about ourselves, it's about the other person. How do you inspire this other person to tell the story that that person is telling, even in a more effective and better way, so that it impact. I look at it, I usually dream, that's why the program is called Dream Big with Zhanna, meaning dreaming big about kindness and peace and love. It is not about the egoistic everything. Well, ego is not a bad thing when it's a healthy relationship with your ego, but what I'm driving is, it starts with small little things, but how do we impact in by telling stories? If we learn the techniques and we become super creative, then the impact on the world and our loved ones, it doesn't have to be a professional environment. It could be, you know, parent-child relationship, husband and wife relationship, strangers on the street, neighbors, who, you name it, everything is a public speaking. As long as we open our mouth and say something, it becomes public speaking. So the impact, I always look at the situations like, how can we alter somebody's perspective on themselves or life so that they can better whoever is around them, because it's all ripple effect.
Yeah.
And how do we really make a world a better place, but not in a sense like we well, not with the perspective like, let's go and do something for others. Let's work on ourselves first, and that's the only way how we can tell a better story about yourself, tell a better story, so that your kid or your mom or your dad or whoever is listening to you in your love circle can be impacted, and maybe it's going to shift something in their lives, and in some cases it saves people's lives. And that's what I think storytellers are all about, is just mastering that skill and
Yeah.
giving feedback that I mentioned. Could you tell, because there is a workshop that is coming up also. We having an open house. You can tell about it, Tell everybody, if you guys are interested, join us for the open house that's coming up.
Sure. And then before I do that, I want to mention that one thing that you mentioned before is also in our professional lives. So all these stories, we can certainly, storytelling skills, we can certainly use in our personal lives, but it's also hugely important in our professional lives, no matter what profession you are in, even the technical background or technical profession that I was in. If you're just rattling off numbers and looking at charts, then some people will start to really get kind of, bored, or they may have a harder time grasping it, depending on who your audience is. And just inserting that little story might make it more impactful, more memorable. And one really, really tiny example, it wasn't a full story, but we were having a sort of a feedback session to look back on how a project was handled and how our organizations are working with each other. And this was when I was in engineering. And so one manager was really disgruntled with how another organization was operating. And so he used this, he basically said, why can't we just go into the room, turn off the switch light and turn it back on and basically reset them. And so it's not a story that he said, but it was great imagery that basically said in different terms, can we just have them start all over, try a different process, reset them, see if they can come up with a better process to make their organization more effective. In so few words, he was able to grasp that imagery and make his point. And that's what part of storytelling is about, is making that point without having to go into all these little technical details about it.
Exactly.
So going back to our upcoming events, we do have an open house event that we welcome anybody. We actually welcome anybody and everybody to join us on in our meetings. We meet every second and fourth Mondays of the month from 7 to 8:30, but we encourage everybody, including members, to start joining at 6:45 so we can chit chat, network, and get to know everybody. That is our time to talk with others. And so we are having, for our next meeting, a special open house that's specially geared towards welcoming guests and explaining how the Toastmasters program and how our Storytellers Club works. Our meeting is on September 14th, again from 6:45 to 8:30. And you'll see a demonstration of a couple prepared speakers who are telling their stories or incorporating stories into their speeches. There will be a couple people, and actually one of them is Zhanna. Zhanna is going to be a speaker during that meeting. So please come in and see how she is as a speaker and see what kind of feedback she gets from our two evaluators, who are then going to provide 2 to 3 minutes of some pointers of what Zhanna and the other speaker did well and were effective, and some areas that they can improve on, whether it's with their storytelling or their public speaking. And then there's also an opportunity for other people, including our guests, to participate in what we call the tail topics, which is impromptu storytelling. And again, if everyone had joined us from the beginning, I had mentioned that that was my weakest skill, is just telling a story in the middle of a conversation. So this is our chance to tell a story without thinking about it in advance. And I think that's a really important skill to have, especially when you come and start a conversation with somebody at work or on the street and you want to just share something, then that's impromptu speaking. So we have components in our being shown in our meeting, open house meeting, along with a Q&A session for those who have questions about our Storytellers Club or have questions about joining.
Yeah,
Zhanna,
that's beautiful. That's beautiful. So that is coming up, and we are in 2020. So it's September the 13th, 14th. I'm sorry, September the 14th. It's a Monday, or in 2020. So you guys join us for the open house. There is also, I wanted you to talk about this workshop, because we talked about how important it is to give an effective feedback, which is also a skill to be learned, whether you are talking to your children or again your spouses and you don't agree on certain points. Like, what is a nice, a very diplomatic way to get your point across and let them know how you feel about it, but also maybe prompt them to change a little bit about how they deliver what they deliver. And not only household situations, but like Faye justly said, professional environment, especially professional environment too. So what is it, Faye? Yeah, what is that workshop and who's doing that?
Sure. So for our Storytellers Club, we offer a variety of workshops and special events that are just for our members as a benefit of their membership. And one of those is going to be on September 23rd of 2020. It's a Wednesday night, 6:30 to 8 o'clock, where we are having a speaker come in and present a workshop, an interactive workshop to demonstrate a process that he has come up with to help us prepare and deliver effective feedback to others. The example that he's going to give, it will be based on another member providing a speech, preparing and delivering a speech, and we will have two other members who are going to use this method that he has shared with us to prepare and deliver their feedback or evaluations. In addition to that demonstration, the speaker is also going to be sharing how all of the skills and all that he has shared is going to translate to outside of Toastmasters, whether it's your personal or professional lives. So this is a special workshop just for members. And if you join as a member, then you'll be able to attend for free. If you are interested in joining the workshop, but aren't sure quite yet that you're ready to join our club, then it'll be a very small $10 fee.
Yeah, nominal fee of $10. Yeah, but it's not, guys, and I just want to thank you so much, Faye. Our show is coming to an end, but there is so much that we can talk about, and I just enjoy being with you, and I hope you guys got your takeaways in what are the ways that you would like to pursue for yourself to become a better communicator, whether Toastmasters journey is the right one for you. But you would never know until you try it, right? As we say, which is very, very true. So we really encourage you. We would be delighted to see you in our Silicon Valley Storytellers Club on September 14th, 2020. You can also join us for this special workshop. After the open house, we will announce it again during the open house, and you can join us from anywhere in the world. So it's up to you. You can just come check it out with no expectations, and just if you want to observe and you're not sure whether that's especially for introverted people, especially for people, I'm talking about my younger version of myself, like a very shy person who really literally wanted to be a butterfly on the wall, just like the butterflies around behind me on the wall, and not say a word. This is the place for you. It's really, really a beautiful organization, and Faye is a living proof that you can actually balance being a beautiful, really thoughtful, dedicated mom, actively helping her child to grow and instill the beautiful values, but also having hobbies, or doing it on a side, wedding planning. I mean, who knew? It's such a time-consuming thing, and yet taking all these multiple leadership roles in the Toastmasters International organization, like Faye does constantly, and improving your speaking abilities, and working and crafting stories all the time when you're doing your prepared speeches. It's amazing. It's a combination of things. It just depends on the self-reflection, like Faye, you were talking about. Sit down, ask yourself, do you really need it? And if the answer is yes in your heart, then don't overthink it. Just join our open house. So with that, Faye, what is the last piece of wisdom that you would love to share with people? And it could be public speaking related or broader.
I think that you had just said it a couple minutes ago, is just try it out. Try something new out. It doesn't hurt to just try. If you discover that it's something for you, then you can move forward. If it's not, then you can try something else. But to try something out, to continue to improve yourself, or to find a new passion, I think that makes a world of difference in somebody's life. So just keep on trying.
Yeah. Well, okay. Well, thank you so much. That was Faye. Faye, how do people find you, or through Toastmasters or individually, if people have questions?
I think the best way would be to contact us through the Silicon Valley Storytellers.org website. And it actually leads us to a meetup site where you can see all of our upcoming events, but you can also contact me through there. That's an easy way to contact me or any of our officers is through our website.
And the meetup, by the way, meetup link to the meetup Silicon Valley Storytellers Club is already on Facebook. If you guys are watching us in replay or right now in real time on Facebook page Hummingbird Academy today, it's right there. So join us through meetup. If you have questions specifically to Faye, you can reach her through that meetup group too, or Silicon Valley Toastmasters.org website. And I think that's the best.
Silicon Valley Storytellers.org.
Silicon Valley Storytellers
.org.
.org. Okay. Toastmasters.org, right?
Storytellers.
Okay. Storytelling. Okay, could you say it again? I messed it up.
Silicon Valley Storytellers.org, which actually just back to the meetup page. So if you have the meetup link posted, then
we already have meetup, so we are all set. And you can always ask me personally, just comment under the video below. If you guys are watching us on Instagram, thank you so much for joining. If you I can post that link on Instagram too, so that whoever is ready, whoever wants to join our open house on September 14th this year, 2020, you're more than welcome to join us with no obligations whatsoever. You're going to be embraced as a new member. It's just like coming over for dinner to your close friend's house, I promise. So with that said, thank you for everything, Faye, and especially for your time and for your wisdom and for sharing all your gifts and talents and your tips today. Guys, let us know what was the biggest takeaway from today's conversation. I hope we inspired and Faye inspired you enough to work on your public speaking skills and to go for the big dreams that you have. And you've been with Dream Big with Zhanna, inspiring you to reignite, refire, and refuel your life. And today my special guest was Faye Yang, or Faye Yang in Chinese. We'll see you later. Thank you so much, Faye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, guys. Bye, Facebook. Bye, Instagram. We'll see you next time. Stay inspired.